Bienvenue, willkommen, bienvenidos, and welcome back to Crawler Canyon's presentation of the Invitational. The Invitational is, of course, a no-holds-barred, six-gate sort of affair in which every rig has the opportunity to go into mortal combat with every other rig. There are no handicaps. Some of the gates are potentially impassable, and some stuff is probably going to get broken. So sit back and prepare yourself for the spills, chills, and thrills to be found within the Invitational. Scoring is, as always was, 7 points for a gate strike, 10 points for a rollover, and 2 points for a reverse. There are no gate points, so a perfect score on a run is 0. So now that you know what you need to know, get ready for the next group in the next round of the Invitational. And here we go for the second run of the second round in Two-Factor Obliteration. This is Group B, and it is something of a round of heavyweights. Filling out this group are Colonel Mustard, followed by Ironsides, and closing out the group, Jolly Green himself. As we have 3 rigs ready to go and a course waiting for them, that means the spinner. So we're going to give the spinner a spin. We're going to see who it chooses for first to run. And perhaps more importantly, who's that man in the middle? Because they get to run in between both times. I personally think there's an advantage to this, but we will see. That was a long, strong spin there. It went for a good while, and it lands on Jolly Green. So he will be running first in the first half and last in the second half. That brings us to the remaining 2, and we will see whether it will be Colonel Mustard or Ironsides as the proverbial man in the middle. And that's a quality used bearing in there. It really is. One more. We know the ground is flat. We're on Ironsides. So Ironsides will be running second on both attempts. We head directly to the Giant and the Beast. We've got work to do. Jolly Green is, of course, up first. Jolly Green sort of subscribing to the same school as Argentum, which is they didn't come here to mess around. So Jolly Green is going to use all 6 of his wheels and has learned the trick of riding the fence. It's perfectly fine if it keeps you off of the marker, and the placement of that marker has been somewhat problematic for everyone. Jolly Green, realizing his length, has opted to take a bit of running around. He's got to drop down the pipes on the edge here. There's really no good coverage of it, but he comes back around, and there's absolutely no need for him to use reverse. He can use the entirety of the canyon, which at one point or another he does. So he's going to come across the top, and he is a bit wide and a bit long, and the rear end does tend to squirt around on him a little. He got quite bound up right in here, to the point where we had a good amount of gear noise with 0 wheel movement. So I think that might be the first instance I've noticed the slipper get completely overpowered. He's taking it quickly here on this descent. He's taking it cautiously on this descent because he does not want to overshoot the bridge, as he is pretty much the only competitor off the top of my head that would have any issue passing through gate 3 here, as he is just so long. I know he would have liked to initiate his turn to come up to the terror that is gate 4 a bit sooner, but he's big, and the Hunks don't have the best grip. He's going to go for a direct just try to punch it in approach here. But it's so loose on top. He does manage, and you'll see right there was a little wiggle on the gate marker numbered 43. Someone in charge of this really needs to go through the bin and dig out some numbers and at least, like, I don't know, put them down in pairs, put them down to where they add up to something, do like a Sudoku thing. We'll see what happens in later rounds. Jolly Green is going to have an interesting conundrum here as he passes through 5, but he's now directly behind 6. So 6 is a live gate. If you hit 6 from either direction, that's fouling the gate. So can he get his length in between, what is that, 50 and 46 for gate 6? Can he get in between there? He's taking a moment here to look things over. He's cleared the intermediate axle, and he's cleared the rear axle. So Jolly Green did indeed manage to, he will perhaps be the only competitor running in this round that clears gate 6 in both directions. So he cleared it going down, and then as he has 6 wheels, oh, little pushed into the fence. I was going to say he should have no difficulty clearing it going up, but got the bumper stuck in there in the fence just a little bit. So not exactly a masterclass, but 1 gate for 7 points is a really good showing for that section. Ironsides is going to see what he can do with it, and as I mentioned early on, these are some heavy boys. The order that they're running in is coincidentally heaviest to, I'm making air quotes here if you can see them, lightest, as Jolly Green is 11.2 pounds. Ironsides, the Defender, is 9.4, and I would like to point out that those 9.4 pounds, so I'll go back to that. In looking at that replay, he had cleared gate 1, and when he rolled out, I don't even think it mattered because I don't think he hit that marker on the roll. So I think he was good there. He's a little stuck here, and then that tire shunted him over, and he had a bad time of it. He took a pretty bad roll there, and that did indeed result in a rollover penalty, which, if memory serves, would be the first of the competition. Returning to a truncated thought from moments ago, Ironsides in the middle at 9.4 pounds, and that's just pure Defender bulk. He has brass C-hubs and brass portal weights at all 4 corners, and that's it. Other than that, he is a stock Defender. He's got a different rear bumper and a different front bumper, but these aren't substantive things. That was a good drop there. He did indeed, as you can see, there are no cuts, there is no camera trickery. He did indeed land on his wheels. He can do whatever he wants to gate 2. I don't. Here at the Canyon, we don't subscribe to the notion of all gates alive all the time. Once you pass a gate here, that gate is dead. There he goes again. Landed on the wheels again. This time facing the other way around. So he tries to take too aggressive of an angle because it occurred to him that with that drop, he doesn't actually have to go this way. So I'm wondering to see if we see, on the wheels again, if we see anyone in the future clear gate 2 and then just drop into the trench and then come around this way, but narrower so that they don't have to pull a reverse. Because there's nothing explicitly stating you have to cross across the top up there. You just have to make it to those gates coming out of the bridge. And he did that, so I don't think he violated any rules. This seems to be the meta for this approach here, which is come at it from the other direction. The 4-wheel steer rigs will obviously, and those with dig, have better chances to shoot at this. some good turning angle. So people will say all sorts of unkind things about the steer angle of the TRX-4 Axial, but it's actually pretty good. Particularly, look at the surface that they're on. It gets through that virtually unscathed, but what has happened to others is when you get hung up, then it's just going to snout you into the rocks on the other side, and rather than take the sideways roll, then Austin powers himself into the bottom of that trench. I think he used a small handful of reverses to get out of there. It has not been a particularly elegant voyage, but he's making it. And now he's through 5, so he made sure to clear 5 so that when he backs up and kills the marker, he was through. Sometimes the dead gates, when you're placing gates this tight, having the ability to kill a gate is kind of important. So he's going to come around here to the bottom. Oh, and I should point out that right there, you heard a click right as he got to the bottom. I don't know if it's specifically ISDT, EST70 related or what, but for the middle part of that, when he did a rollover earlier on, probably one where he fell into the trench, and like right there, that was not a reverse. That was his gearbox on one of the falls had dropped into high gear. So Ironsides effectively ran half of those gates in high gear, which basically takes his drag brake away. He ended up using 5 reverses. He hit 2 gates and he rolled over once for a closing score of 34, which is not spectacular, but it is still very early on in the competition. At this point, he's the 5th rig to run this. Here comes the Colonel. The Colonel, here's some foreshadowing. The Colonel found out that some of his bits, this right here is his big wide bumper getting caught in the chain link. So not wanting to use a reverse, he's trying to jockey himself across. He's gotten quite vertical, and held it. So everything is looking okay so far. Drops down on the other side of the gate. He's going to now attempt to maneuver up to gate 2. There are some aspects of the Colonel that while he is he's good handling for what he is, which is a 10-3, which in at least in the estimation of the professional commentators on staff here, he is a trail truck pretending to be a rock crawler. So there are parts here like that was a proper hang, a couple of them. That slipper is just spinning, and now the rear end is not just loaded, but the rear end is caught. It is well and truly caught. Tries a reverse and perhaps should have tried a larger one, because when your body is affixed only with magnets and you roll over, the biggest part of what enables you to complete that rollover is, how do I say this, staying in one piece. So as the Colonel essentially explodes every time he rolls over, every rollover is a rollover. If you roll over just an open Moonlander chassis, it's going to stay upside down. And the Colonel found that out. And not to give anything away, as it's coming up very shortly here, the Colonel will find that out more than once. We'll just leave this here on its own. You're not getting out of that. And as per the rules, this goes back way into the 6 gates. You get reset to the previous gate. So his first rollover was before gate 2. His second rollover was after gate 2. And right here, he is going to exhibit a rule which we didn't think we would have to discuss, not this early, which is the mercy rule. The mercy rule is installed in the invitational format in order to prevent the runs from just going on forever. what the mercy rule is the maximum score that you can accrue for a single gate is 19 points. We arrived at this through the combination of one reverse, one rollover, and one gate strike is 19 points, 2, 7, 10. So if during the attempted completion of a gate, a competitor exceeds 19 points on that effort, they have effectively maxed out that gate. They pull a maximum score. So if a competitor just rolls over repeatedly and fails to clear a gate, they are given 19 points and they are forwarded to the next gate. Now you might say, well, this is unfair. Someone could just headbutt everything, pull a 19 on every gate. But this is a 6-gate format, and round 2 is a double 6-gate format. So that's what, 114 points per 6-gate? So you'd be looking at a 228. A 228 is not going to be competitive. So we hear the commentation staff, in cooperation with the judging staff, have agreed that pulling a 114 in a 6-gate is effectively going to make you dead last. And a little bit more foreshadowing. When we get later on in this, you'll find out why explicitly you don't want to be dead last. So really, the transitional phase here, back to the Colonel, the stage between Gate 2 and Gate 3 was where it got difficult. He didn't expressly have a problem with Gate 4. Gate 5 wasn't really a problem. He did get a little Austin Powersy there in the tunnel. Gate 6, I think he manages quite well, more than others before him, but if you max a gate, you're going to have a number. So that was 7 reverses, 3 gates, 2 rollovers, 55 points. So after coming off of 55, we flip the order, we head to Undertaker, and the Colonel has to go out first. The thought here in the post-game viewing is that what the Colonel was trying to accomplish here was to come up across the top of the gates, dead roll down, and then progress through the gate. Like he was trying to do a button hook. And it didn't work because the first thing he did was fall on the gate. The gate was definitely placed in an inopportune position for everyone involved. No one to this point has cleared Gate 4. No one has come close to clearing Gate 4. So the 7 points there is all but a given. So we will see how he manages. This is the same as the other high transition, but smoother here. So, I mean, smooth to the point where, I mean, you can see the little alluvial fan that's forming down there at the bottom. This is not beneficial to anyone. So the Colonel is hugging it high and tight. He is one of the most narrow rigs. These are not a wide offset rim. He has no widening of any kind. The AR-45Ps are pretty narrow. He's getting hung up on the front bumper. His front bumper fits the body and it looks good, but functionally it's hurting him more than anything else is. He's coming across here nicely on the top. He's got some good flex going there. Staying high. Now again, right there, the bumper just augured in a little bit, which pushed him, didn't push him, it kind of torsionally twisted him. So he has fallen, and as he has a magnetically attached body, he cannot get up. Now, there is joy in the pain, which is, much as Vanimal did, he fell through Gate 4. We looked as closely as we could in conjunction with the judging staff. We didn't notice a gate strike there. So, I mean, I'm sure he would have exchanged a gate strike to not roll over, but here we are. No problem with Gate 5. Can't quite pull the turn tight enough for gate 6. Has to throw in an added reverse. Not a problem at this point, as it may have been a bit of a blur. But the Colonel, unlike some before him, he did well here. 2 reverses, 1 gate, 1 rollover, 21 points. 21 points is not bad for Undertaker. It's not bad at all. So Ironsides is coming out to see what he can do with it. He's also taking that left side line to try to catch a little bit of that corner of that slab looks a little more forgiving. He's trying to get up out of the sand, and he's just taking the 7. Like, he's like, I don't want to have to dial in a bunch of reverses. I don't want to risk a rollover. I want to see if these Ripsaws can pull me up these rocks, and I can just get over through the transitions, try not to fall down into gate 4. Just try to keep it a little more tidy, because he didn't exactly have a stellar performance in the first half of the day either. The rock is pushing him a bit wide, but luckily that marker is down below the level. The Ripsaws have an amazing amount of grip. They genuinely do. He had to, you could see just for a split second there, he had to counter steer down the hill because he was actually pushing up too high. So now it's the same thing. Also, 3 rigs here with full width bumpers front and rear. That just occurred to everyone here on the staff as we're watching this in replay for the umpteenth time. So when you get into the divisions where there are more folks without full width bumpers or with no bumpers at all, obviously things are a little different. And that's a nose stand, and that nose stand is quite inopportune, as he is now, again, I'm going to say it again, he is Austin powered between the rock and the tennis ball. He's trying to see if there's a reverse line that he can pull around it, and he gets up, and then gravity just, he clipped it on the way around, so then he was just like, did I clear it? And he got the green flag on it, so he's going to wrap it around through gate 5. I think that any strikes we witness at any point in this round on gates 5 and 6 are purely up to competitor mindset, because everybody wants to do well, and gate 4 is, you start off on gate 1 and you're mad about what's going to happen, and then by the time you get to gate 4 is like a spirit breaker, because it's in a spot where you're at the mercy of gravity. So Ironsides clears it out with just 1 reverse and 2 gates. It's 16. That's not bad at all. So closing out the day, the 6th run of the morning, Jolly Green. And Jolly Green is taking gate 1 seriously, because he figures if anybody is going to have a chance at clearing gate 1, it's going to be the rig with 6 wheels. So he's trying to claw up, and he's trying to use power, but not too much power. And he's pushed quite wide now. So he's like, I'll take the 2, and I'm going to take another shot at it. Taking it real slow now. And it's just like, you can see the rear wheels. There will be, changes will be made, you know, but for purposes of the competition, this course is what this course is. So he's looking good. He's almost through. And then the fickle finger of fate, the rear axle slid, and there's nothing he can do. Nothing he can do except express his rage, as he hasn't officially cleared it yet, and he's stuck. So let's just say Jolly Green is in an excellent mindset for the remainder of this run. More spoilers from the commentation staff. You will find out that the JConcepts Hunk, even if you have 6 of them, is not the optimal tire for an extremely steep side hill portion that is covered in loose, decomposed granite. As If he didn't have 4 wheels at the back to hold the front end of the rig on, he would have just fallen off. So same thing here. Front bumper bites in. He's got to hit another reverse. You can see that rear end just sliding. And again, paying the price of vanity. Love that front bumper. It's a good looking bumper. Fits the body well. But if he had something more, let's say boat shaped up front, some with a little slope on it, he executed a masterful bump there over the top. Look at the cruller on that middle tire. That middle tire was doing a lot of work. Coming down through 4, trying to redeem himself. I think he pulled 3 reverses up top. He might be at 4 reverses so far. It's a rough day. Jolly Green's got all the room in the world. Can do a loop here around the camera stand. Come back around for 5. And perhaps just a mental error, perhaps gravity. Again, Hunks poked out to the side, just rolls it over. So had he taken that further to the right, he still would have had to use a reverse here. So has to throw in a last reverse for the run. Jolly Green is a big, long boy, so he knows to take a bigger cut at the reverse when he needs to. Still gets hung up a little, almost gets pushed into the low side marker on 6. But clears it, and that is a run that Jolly Green is certainly not happy with. 6 reverses, 2 gates, 26 points. So let's see what the leaderboard looks like for Group B in round 2. As you saw, Jolly Green did a masterful job on Giant Beast, hitting just 1 gate for 7 points. Ironsides had a bit more of a time of it. 5 reverse, 1 gate, and we've decided to label it F for flip because we can't have R for rollover. So 5 reverse, 1 gate, 1 flip for 34 points, which looks bad next to the 7, but we'll see how that holds up. Colonel Mustard came out next. And as mentioned, if you throw down a max on a gate, you're going to have a big score. So subtract a reverse and a gate and a rollover and put those all together, and that's how he ends up with a 55. In the second run at Undertaker, Jolly Green frankly let himself down. 6 reverses and 2 gates for 26 points. Particularly when you consider that a rig with 1 less axle had 1 reverse and 2 gates for 16 points, but don't remind Jolly Green about that. Colonel Mustard also did reasonably well and was second place on the day here. 2 reverse, 1 gate, 1 rollover for 21 points. Which leaves us with nothing but the totals, where if you are good at arithmetic, you already know. Jolly Green with 33. Ironsides finishing with a nice round 50. And Colonel Mustard with a not altogether wildly impressive 76. So I think it's a foregone conclusion, and it was pretty obvious from early on who the winner on the day was going to be. It is indeed Jolly Green, with his total of 33, which will lead us directly into the standings. We can have a standings board now, as we've had 2 groups run. And there it is. Argentum still holding on. Zoidberg in second, Jolly Green in third. And once again, there's a 4-point gap between first and third. And then there's a 13-point gap between third and fourth. And then Colonel Mustard way down there. And Colonel Mustard's name is in red. And I will explain why his name is in red, because as this round was being run, we thought up a new rule. And it's pretty simple. After the round of 16, whoever's name is red, they're instantly eliminated. No second chances. Then after that, after all the rounds, we take the 4 highest scores, not including the one that's been eliminated, and they are put in the elimination bracket, and they will face off in a single elimination 6 gate, where only the lowest score survives. and the other 3 are eliminated. Because this leaves us a nice round number. There will be 12 remaining, and they will all move on, and they'll do it again, because that's how we play the Invitational.